What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for the support that we've had in the recent weeks on all across the Sorare videos. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into game week 22 on Sorare. Right then, for the slate on Sorare for game week 22, we have our standard competitions of our rare contender, our rare champion, limited contender, and limited champion. They've thrown in a limited all defense, but again, I'll prefix this. I wouldn't sort of focus on that. If you've got extra cards left over, by all means, throw them in there. But focus on your limited champions and your rare champions first, and go from there. If you've got extra stuff, it's always worth throwing in. But when you're looking at a 3.5k pool for a 230 power, it's not looking too good. As you can see, I've already played about with the majority of my teams. I do this at the start of every game week. I'm sure other people do. Let me know in the comments down below if you do as well. But every time the game week refreshes, I'll throw my cards in and see where my L10s are saying, and if I need to go and pick someone up to make a team that I like work and so on and so forth. But we'll jump in. We'll go straight off the bat. We'll go rare champion. So for me this week, I have Jaylen Brown, Andrew Wiggins. Finally, hopefully, he's back after missing what seems about 8 weeks. We can actually look. He's missed from game week 14 to game week 20. So, okay, 7 weeks. Well, 8 weeks if game week 22 now. He's missed with a right abductor strain, and then he came back, and then he was ill, and he missed the last 2. Now, he's got a double this week with the Hawks and the Pistons. So there is a lot of scope for a 33 plus, especially with Steph out. The usage rate on Wiggins should be increased. So for 33, he's very good. I've got Jeremy Grant as well with a cap of 33. Pistons and the Timberwolves. I was a little bit concerned with him a couple of weeks back. I know I said it on a video in terms of his output potentially going down with the Lillard back. But that 64 against, albeit it was against Charlotte. But, I've got some faith in him still. The one that, in the flip side, I've lost the faith with is Oubre. He's got this hand injury. His minutes will stay the same, but his usage is being shared now across Gordon Hayward, LaMelo, and everything coming back. He's still a good option. I think his cap, I'll hold him now because his L10 will start to trickle down from 31. That 44 will affect it, but the 8 and the 21 and the 24 will really put it down. I think for that as a cap, he's good. He's come down in price quite a lot. I'm not looking to sell these cards anyway. I'm accruing a gallery as Sorare goes on, and I think that's what everyone should be doing in general. And then to fill this out, I had a Jeremy Sohan, 22 L10. He's fluctuating. I think when the Spurs are tanking, he'll always be playing anyway, so I'm not concerned about Sohan. I bought him a couple of weeks back. I think he's a good hold for the rest of the season. And also the rookie card, because we'll move on to that in a second, but the rookie cards and players that are younger will be beneficial now. So with Jeremy Sohan being under that 23-year-old threshold, they're introducing what I believe they've done on the football side for ages now in terms of the age-varied competitions. So there is they've called it veterans, but I think it's players only 30 and older is what we've got here. And it's the same thing, but obviously on the underside with under 23 players. So this should mean that there'll be a little bit more fluctuation, a little bit more variance of people not only playing a Luka Doncic in limited contender, in limited champion, because there's now some variability in other competitions for these guys to be played in other ones, which will space out the flow and space out the placings is the only thing really for them, which is beneficial for everybody. More contests is beneficial for everybody in this sense. I think they're gonna tease it in with sort of commons and then limiteds and then swap it around and vice versa for the first 4 weeks we've got here. But I would like to see, and I would suspect this will become a full-time thing. I think they'll trial it. They'll see how it goes on the NBA side, and then they'll implement it on a full-time thing. Maybe not the veteran stuff, but I can also see them doing, because I think as well on the football side, they do rare pro and things like that, where they'll go back to the old scarcity that we had on the NBA side, where you could play 3 rares, 2 limiteds, or 3 rares and 2 super rares. I think they might introduce this on the under 23s and over 30s, where you could play 3 rares, 2 limiteds, and so on and so forth, to also give people a step up to see if they want to go and start buying other cards, but also just you've got more areas to play these cards in. So then my rare contender lineup sort of picked itself. I'll to and fro between if I will prioritize champion or contender, depending on what I think the best lineup I can do is. That would also be my advice to you. And for this one, it did fit as well, really. My one choice will be if I play. We'll run you through. Mikal Bridges, 29 L10, 2 days in between on a rest trip on a road trip that the Suns have got. D-Book's out, so a usage rate should be increased for Mikal Bridges. He's playing at the 2 now, not really the 3. It's not ideal for Mikal Bridges for what his game is, I don't think, but on a Sorare basis, it's not a concern for me at an L10 to 29. Gary Trent Jr. shot the lights out the other day, I will say. He hit 65, which would have seen me get a rare reward, but Caleb Martin missed 2 games when he was probable and then he got downgraded to questionable, which has been the story of it for the past sort of 2 or 3 weeks. I had rewards every single week, and then the last 2 injuries have caught up to me. But it's what it is on this game. You can't help DMPs. It happens to everybody. It's just part and parcel of Sorare. So Gary Trent Jr. again, 25 out of 10. Very happy with him. 2 games. They're not the best. The Pacers have been quite good recently, and they're a fun team to watch anyway. And the Raptors thing, you're not really sure where Nick Nurse is going to play anybody. Scotty Barnes ran at the 1 the other day, so it's all up in the air where anyone could be. But I'm happy with him for 2 games at now 10-25. Joe Harris is a gamble because I think he's probable now, and he's come off but he's been out for a little while with a knee injury, and he wasn't playing great basketball before that. But the thing with the Nets is whenever they have these road games or whenever they have these games in terms of, especially with the Bulls one, they could rest a lot of people. And it will be if they give Joe Harris that rest in that game or they play him in that second unit, which it's a gamble, the Joe Harris one. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is for me. I could play Caleb Martin over him, and I have the L10 for it. But at the moment, I'll see what happens if Caleb Martin comes off the injury report before I'll look. Because against the Lakers and the Clippers, if the Clippers rest or the Lakers rest and they're getting blown out by the Heat, these guys are quite good for this. But at the moment, I'm going to go for Joe Harris. And then last but not least, it's Dwight Powell. I'm not going to play Me Too. He's only getting garbage time now. He's completely fallen out of the rotation that he was getting earlier in the season. So I'm not going to play him. Dwight Powell, he lost his starting spot to Chris Wood, which isn't ideal, but he's still getting, he can still put up decent scores. If, like, for example, that 35 that he had a couple of weeks back, if Luke is there with him and he's feeding him the ball, he'll always get a couple of assists. He'll always get a couple of rebounds. It's the point scoring for Dwight Powell that is the issue. And in games where Luka's not going off for 50, what he's been doing for the past sort of, well, it feels like forever, but it's realistically the last like 5 games. Dwight Powell's an okay option for, especially for an L10 of 13. On to the limited side now. My limited champion I'm really confident about this week. I've got Joel Embiid with a double. Joel Embiid speaks for himself this season. He's been putting up astronomical numbers of what we've had for an L10 of 57, but it doesn't matter because he's always going to be your MVP. Ja Morant at 45, in and around that. He hasn't had a big time game, and I'm expecting one soon from Ja. He had that 17 assist game the other day, but I want to see like not a triple double, but a 45, an 8, and a 6 or something along those lines. Maybe a couple of steals involved as well. Landry Shamet, I believe he's probable, which means he should be back. D-Book's out for a month, so he'll be starting at the 2. When he started these games here on the 48 and the 48, he can put up the numbers. He had his career high, so you could argue it isn't sustainable and it isn't a banker, but I'm fine with Landry Shamet being in the team, especially at the 2 for the Suns, because now Mikal Bridges will move back to the 3, so that'll help for that sense. Vucevic, 37. He's got 2 games. I would suspect he'll get in and around 37. I'm not expecting anything more than that. And then Steph Curry, an L10 of 12 is really low for him. And if the Nets are winning by a lot and they're blowing someone out, or vice versa, they're in garbage time, Steph Curry should see a lot of movement. He's a good 3-and-D guy for that essence, and so rare. Can get a couple of steals, but he can go off and shoot sort of 6 or 7 threes in a night quite comfortably for Steph Curry, I would say. And yeah, there is an argument I could play Matisse Thybulle. I think the Sixers, whenever they play him, they look really good. I don't think they've lost a game when he started this season, but at the moment, I'm gonna stick with Steph Curry for Seth Curry, I should say. I wish I had Steph Curry. I'll stick with Steph Curry as my final choice in champion, and you can stay with me because I'll run into limited contender as well. This sort of almost picked itself. I wanted Scotty Barnes in, I wanted Dylan Brooks in, and I wanted Buddy Hield in for those 3. I think they've all got good L10s for what they're at. So then I needed to get some filler players. And these filler players as well. Corey Joseph should see an uptick in minutes still. I think he's got one more game with the Killian Hayes man. He hit that 26, 13, but if he gets high 10s, I'd be content with that. Darius Baisley is a gamble. I could move it down to Matisse Thybulle, but he's got it in him. If the Thunder are really getting blown out and he has that pickup in moments, he can get sort of in the 20 mark. We've seen it across sort of multiple games before. He can definitely do it. So it's just a case of if you get sort of quote unquote lucky for how the Thunder are playing in any particular matchup. So yeah, they're my limit teams. If you don't think any of them look good and I should play Thybulle in some of them or take someone out and swap them around, do let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, and then like I said, really at the top of the video, the limited all defense team is just an amalgamation of cards that I had left that are still quite usable. The way limited or defense works, I believe it only counts rebounds, steals, and blocks. Doesn't count. I don't even think it counts points. I will check. You can stay with me whilst I do so. It's a wonder for all of these, you can always check here. Yeah, eligible scoring categories: blocks, rebounds, and steals. So points isn't even a factor. Rudy Gobert, if he's fit, would be a great one for this in general. Unfortunately, I don't own a Rudy Gobert. I do own a Julius Randle, who has been putting up mad numbers, but he just doesn't fit in my lineups. I'd rather have Embiid as an MVP, and as such, an L10 of 51, you're not going to play him in contender, and it just didn't work to play him as the second guy in my MVP team. Ja Morant was a better fit for the L10. So I'm fine with him being an MVP in this, and you can just sort of you throw five together and you see what sticks. Jalen Duren as well. I've got him on an 8% from training now. There's scope for him to get 10 boards a night and maybe a couple of blocks in there, but yeah, Franz Wagner is just, again, I wanted to, like, in terms of L10 players here, maybe there's an argument I play Chris Boucher, but I'll play him for the steals. He might get 6 or 7 rebounds as well, depending if he plays at the 3 or if they move him to the 2. Mo Bamba, I think he missed the last game, and I'm actually not sure if he missed the game against the Wizards. I think they change it as well, so you can see the point scoring for the guys when you click in here. So actually, what has Franz Wagner got? 11, 14, 10. If we look here, like, what's Nick Richards saying? Maybe the same. Grant Williams, the same. Chris Boucher, they're in and around. So I'll play Chris Boucher. What's Drew Eubanks actually? Because I did pick a Drew Eubanks the other day. Do you know what? Actually, we're going to play Drew Eubanks. Big call. 26 L10 cap, but we don't care. We'll put Drew Eubanks in instead. Mo Bamba, if he's fit and he's back, he can get in around the high 10s, maybe the 20s. And then Jared Vanderbilt's the same sort of guy. Depends really with the Jazz if they play him at the 4 or the 5. He's tending to play at the 5s now, but he has started at the 4 a few times. And obviously in this sort of prefix, it will affect rebounds and things like that. But yeah, I wouldn't stress too much out, and I wouldn't be going and buying people for a limited or defense. It's a fun competition, but it's nothing to move the needle, is what I'll say. Right then, and then just to round off the video, these are my common contender and champion lineups. Champion picked itself for me. There are 3 games for the Rockets, but I'm not really worried about having Rockets definitely in them. It fit for me with having Kevin Porter Jr. in there. The 3 games are okay-ish for them, but the Rockets are such a team where if they're getting blown out, they're going to rest guys, and they want to lose games anyway. So I wouldn't necessarily focus on it, but I've got a Rocket player in each of my lineups. Doncic is Doncic. He's just been ridiculous this year. He's probably winning the MVP race after the last 5 games of just that historic 60-20 night. Jason Tatum, you can argue, is definitely the number 2 guy, maybe the number 3 guy. But yeah, I've hit a couple of limiteds this year from Common Champion, but I don't. You just sort of throw a lineup that you think is going to be the best one off of L10s, and you go there from it. But yeah, these are the rest of my lineups. The one question I've got for you guys, and I'd like to know in the comments down below, because it's just my opinions that I've got. When you see on the football side, and obviously the football side of things has been going for a long, long time. It's the bedrock of what So Rare necessarily is. Like I'll throw the common lineups that we got from the World Cup together. But if you look at the upcomings and we hide lock competitions, there's sort of loads. And I know they can't pay out ETH in the NBA because I think that's with the licensing agreement that they've got, that it isn't gambling and so on and so forth. But as you can see, the numbers and the payouts for stuff just seem to be really, really strong on the football side. And I get it. They're in game week 334. We're in game week 22 on the NBA side of things. But an NBA League Pass for like the number 1 guy in the NBA, what they did a couple of weeks back, I don't think that that's particularly great. Also, when you factor in that when you sell cards now in the NBA, and it's been like this for a little while, but when you sell cards, there's a 5% transaction fee that are applied to the NBA. I think it's for the MLB as well, but there's nothing still for football. So they're taxing on the NBA side, of which they're keeping the money, along with all the mints, which is their prerogative. It's how they make their money. This is, at the end of the day, this is for a profit company. But I don't think that the pool of prizes back for the NBA is being recalibrated correctly, considering what you look at for the football side and things like that. I think it will be addressed, and I think it will get better across time. But I'd like to see sort of a little bit more than like limited all defense once a week that pays out a tier 1 if you finish 1 out of 3,000 and things like that. That's my only thing. And like a league pass, if a guy is finishing first in Super Rare of spending sort of 10K on a Super Rare team, he's probably got $150 league pass access is the only thing. So they probably don't need a league pass for them. So the prizes, they're nice, they're different, they're good. You're seeing changes, but potentially I'd like to see a little bit more. So we'll wrap the video up there. Thank you very much for watching. I'll move it over onto my gallery as such. Stark. My rewards video in terms of a breakdown of everything that I've done on Sorare for the past couple months now, what I've won, what I've not won, the lessons learned, and so on and so forth. That is coming. I'm going to be doing it. I just want to do it correctly is the only thing for it. If you've got this far, make sure you check out the link down below. You can download Sorare using my link. If you buy 5 cards on the auction house, you'll get one free. But you get 20 cards to play with for free. You don't have to pay for them. You can play in the commons and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you can, please like, drop a comment and subscribe. It helps us out more than you can imagine on the channel here. And also check out our podcast that we do on the Swingman podcast on this channel. So yeah, have a happy new year and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.